Bred to Win, brought to you by Arrowfield, the home of four-time champion sire Schnitzel.
Hello, I'm Caroline Searcy. Welcome to Bred to Win, coming to you from Equimillion, held in Sydney, and a great success for Racing New South Wales. All the competitors and the sponsors from the racing and breeding industry, with hundreds of off-track thoroughbreds showing off their wares. Coming up on this week's show, we look back on another great weekend of spring racing. Schnitzel's Group 1 winning 2-year-old Sword of State with magnificent first foals exciting the team at Cambridge Stud. And Blue Gum Farms' Kathy Dingwall, an equestrian who fell in love with racing through a true great of the 1990s. First though, another big spring Oz Horse news. One of the big bloodstock news stories of the past week was the announcement Vin Cox will be taking up a new role as General Manager at Yulong Investments, with Yusheng Zhang's operation becoming one of the biggest players in the global breeding industry. Vin presided over some of the greatest successes of the Godolphin Blue team on the racetrack and in their breeding operation as Managing Director of Godolphin for the past 6 years, as well as championing many of the industry's most important functions, including fostering new generations of thoroughbred industry staff and continuing Godolphin's great support of the Australian Stud and Stable Staff Awards, which honour the industry's usually unheralded workers. Yulong was also in the news, buying the standalone Magic Millions mare offering She's a Belter for $1.35 million. The 4-year-old mare by Sebring's son Gold Standard won the WA 2-year-old Magic Millions, the JJ Atkins, the Hot Danish and Queensland Sires Produce Stakes. And Yulong is also celebrating the success on the track of Montefilia, who features soon, but also in the first winner by their young son of Redout's choice, Alabama Express, when Caravas won an early South Australian 2-year-old event in that state's Saturday meeting at Murray Bridge. An All-Stakes winner, Alabama Express, stands at Yulong in Victoria at a fee of $22,000. Arrowfield Stud announced through the week they've become a shareholder in Golden Rose winner Militarize, a son of their own star stallion Dundeel. Militarize is now a triple Group 1 winner with successes in the ATC Sires Produce and Champagne Stakes at 2, while Dundeel is also on his way as a sire of sires, with his Caulfield Guineas winning son Super Seth siring his first winner on the weekend as Poetic Champion won on debut in New Zealand. Super Seth stands at Waikato Stud in New Zealand at a fee of $35,000 NZ plus GST.
But it's checkmate! King's Gambit home today!
Saturday's Rose Hill meeting was a great mix of group racing and exciting new events, with the enigmatic King's Gambit showing his great talent with a win in the Group 2 Roman Consul Stakes. A Gorey Park homebred, the colt is from the Triscay and Birthday Card Stakes winner Sultry Feeling, and is another smart colt for dual champion Australian sire I Am Invincible. The new $1.5 million Alan Brown Stakes, paying tribute to one of Sydney racing's most popular and experienced racing administrators, the late Alan Brown, was a great result for the OTI team and trainer Matt Dunn, with the 7-year-old Cepheus now on track for the $3 million Big Dance. Another high-level Australian winner for See the Stars, Cepheus is from American-bred Van Nistelrooy mare Crimson Cheer.
Arena takes the lead from the Little Pumper.
The $500,000 Tap Craig, named after legendary Sydney race callers John Tapp and Ian Craig, was won by Schnitzel filly Macarena, half-sister to dual stakes winner Missile Mantra. She was a $250,000 Inglis Easter buy from Arrowfield Stud, back to Hawkes Racing from the Starcraft mare We Can Say Mac. The Niverson, a Group 3 for the mares, went to the John and Trish Muir-bred Magic Time, passed in as a yearling and now racing in their well-known Millburn Creek colours. From the Nakoni mare, Time Awaits, her half-brother by Done Deal sold for $300,000 to Freedman Racing and Julian Blaxland at this year's Inglis Easter yearling sale. Magic Time's sire, Hellbent, is proving popular at Yarraman Park Stud this season, standing at a fee of $38,500.
Gold Trip runs on by.
At Flemington, last year's Melbourne Cup winner Gold Trip was simply outstanding, rounding up the field in the Group 1 Turnbull Stakes and pinning his ears back in true Entire fashion to record a thrilling victory for the Australian Bloodstock team. Interestingly, his sire Outstrip, a former Breeders' Cup juvenile turf winner, now stands in Brazil after beginning his career at Darley's UK-based Dalham Hall. More interesting is the fact Outstrip's sire is Australia's own King of Speed, Exceed and Excel, with Gold Trip now aiming at back-to-back Melbourne Cups.
Stretton Angel, the outside tries.
It was a filly who was successful in the Group 2 Danehill Stakes, with Harry Angel's Stretton Angel beating a field chock full of elite colts and other fillies. A Decadival Stakes winner in Adelaide at 2 for Philip Stokes. She's from the Darley family of Allegria and Allegron, while her sire Harry Angel, a July Cup and Haydock Sprint Cup winner, stands at Darley Stud in New South Wales at a fee of $33,000. The Edward Manifold Stakes was won by Darley's filly Zardozi, a daughter of Kingman from the Dabawi mare Shandiri, who descends from wonderful Sadler's Wells filly Gossamer. The Group 2 Gilgai Stakes went to Star Spangled Banner's Star Patrol from the family of Hips Don't Lie and Splintex, while James Harron's colours were successful in another early season 2-year-old race as his colt syndicate's I Am Invincible colt Bodyguard took out the Maribyrnong Trial Stakes. He's from the mare Tamu, a Fastnet Rock daughter of Golden Slipper winner Moss Fun.
Spoil the party, but it's Legato in front.
In New Zealand, Poisier's Australian Guineas winning daughter Legato showed she's back in great shape, winning the listed Matamata Cup. She's from the Tauke mare Geordie Girl, and her spring aim is the $10 million Golden Eagle. Legato's sire Poisier was crowned champion New Zealand stallion last season and stands at New Zealand's Rich Hill Stud at a fee of $70,000 NZ plus GST. And no surprise, he has the book full signed this season. The inaugural Racing New South Wales Equimillion event for retired racehorses wrapped up last Monday, with huge prize money picked up by both elite riders and plenty of novices who've taken on off-the-track thoroughbreds. In coming weeks on Thoroughbreds Argo, we'll feature some stories from the show jumping competition, with large numbers of racing and breeding organisations throwing their support behind individual riders who were thrilled to get a chance to show off their thoroughbreds on a big equestrian stage.
I think that this event is a game changer, that people will see the New South Wales thoroughbred as a premium product that they can take to this kind of event and go round for the same kind of prize money as they were racing for. And all of a sudden, yeah, you're going to have these horses that go through the Equimillion auction, and they're a premium because they can come to this event and, yeah, be in the prize money. People who have won today will go home and think, this is serious, this is a game changer, and this is how I've got to plan for the future.
Well-known racing identities such as Jess Bott and Tara Madgwick competed at the event, highlighting the links between the racing and equestrian worlds, while elite Australian equestrian representatives such as Shane Rose and Sinead Lowings were also in action, showing their support for the breed. And plenty of junior riders such as the Arrowfield stud-sponsored Michaela Fenwick tasted success, as did a rider with an historic heritage in Maddie Brighton, who competed against her mother Vicky Cowdroy, the pair being daughter and granddaughter of Triple Olympian and great thoroughbred advocate Merv Bennett. Our Thoroughbreds Argo sponsored rider Leah Beth Anderton unfortunately had to pull out at the show jumping after her thoroughbred Only Tiger bumped himself in the cross country and was a scratching from Monday's competition. As always, the welfare of the horse comes first.
Who you Mel being gobbled up by Montefilia.
The English Graduate of the Week was one of the most expensive we've featured, with $3.4 million English Chairman sold mare Montefilia winning the $2 million Hill Stakes for her new owners, Yulong Stud. An outstanding winner of 4 Group 1s when trained by David Payne, her new trainer Chris Waller has her back to her best after she was sold through the Newgate Farm Draft at this year's English Chairman's sale. Montefilia's sire, Kermadec, winner of the Doncaster and George Main Stakes himself, stands this season at an incredible value fee of $16,500 at Darley's Northwood Park in Victoria. Time for a break on Bred to Win. Coming up, the Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week, leading into an update on the magnificent first foals of their Son of Snitzel, Sword of State.
Princess Grace and Life Lessons fight it out.
The Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week was the New Zealand-bred daughter of their late great Tavistock, Life Lessons, in the Group 2 Rose of Kingston Stakes at Flemington. A homebred for Turunga Farm, Stuart Ramsey. She's from the Encosta de Lago mare Brockman's Lass and came off a last start second to star WA mare Amelia's Jewel. Life Lessons became the 46th stakes winner for Tavistock, showing his enormous influence continues for generations to come. And another daughter of Tavistock, Town Crier, was able to hold off star mare Prowess in the Group 3 Taranaki Breeders' Stakes in New Zealand on Saturday.
Prowess looked as though she may pick her up, but she kept kicking really well.
The Cambridge Stud roster covers all bases, with the Almanzors excelling on the track, the Hallow Zanes coming through, and their exciting 2-year-old Group 1 winner Sword of State by Snitzel, with exciting first foals who are gaining rave reviews right around Australasia.
But Sword of State and OP Boss and KG Ride wins the Steamer Stakes.
Scott, here we are, another spring, and of course Sword of State we're going to focus on with this first exciting new foals arriving. But of course, you know, another year and more great success stories around Cambridge Stud.
Yeah, it's a lot going on as per usual, particularly this time of year, but no, it's been a really successful past racing season for Brendan and Joe, and we've got some of our better horses coming back up now through the spring again. And on the breeding side, yeah, it's all go. New foals for Sword of State, and you know the farm looks terrific. We've got lush grass everywhere, and it's yeah, just a great time of year, I think, in this industry.
We'll look back at, you know, remind people of just how good Sword of State was as a racehorse. But how's he looking now? We know, of course, as a son of Snitzel, you know, he was just a lovely 2-year-old. He's developed into a beautiful stallion. But a year further down the track, what do you see in him now? Yeah,
he's done really well. Like, he came straight to stud out of a racing preparation where he had a bit of a virus, and it's fair to say he's just been on a real upward plane ever since. And as you would expect from that, you know, sprinting style of Snitzel, he's really developed into a ball of muscle, and he's a really impressive horse to look at, and just a fantastic temperament too. You know, great horse to have around and to do anything with.
And we know, of course, you know, the sons of Redoute's Choice have excelled as stallions, and Snitzel himself, a sire of sires, a super broodmare sire. But tell us in terms of, you know, what mare owners are sort of sending to him, because the Snitzel blood is so rare in New Zealand, and obviously he's an elite sort of representative of it, being a Group 1 winning 2-year-old.
Yeah, he's very unique in our market. I mean, sons of Snitzel are usually kind of out of reach for us over here, so we were lucky to have that involvement with him through the Tiakau Colts syndicate, and he brings something, I think, a really great option for breeders here looking for a bit of speed and precocity. So what we're seeing a lot of is, you know, for those mares that are free of Dane Hill, particularly looking for a bit of an injection of speed, he's a great option for that. And you know, with what Sons of Snitzel have even done in the last 12 months, yeah, we're just even more grateful to have a horse like him to offer to breeders.
Sword of State, he's put them to the sword here. He's 3 and 4 lengths in front from On the Bubbles.
And you know, when you look back at his race record, I mean, winning a Waikato Slipper, he won the Steamer, as we mentioned, of course, the Group 1 for the 2-year-olds, which is won by, the good colts that really go on with the job, Al Mansour Trophy and a King's Plate. He was an exceptional racehorse.
Yeah, he was absolutely dominant 2-year-old here in New Zealand, but I do genuinely believe he probably didn't fully get to see the best of him. He had to have aborted 2-year-old campaign in Sydney because of the weather, which, would have been exciting to see him take on the top 2-year-olds in Australia, and I think he would have really measured up there. And things didn't go quite well in the spring, and he got back in track here, through Group 3 races, admittedly. But when you go back and look, he beat Imperatrice, which, every week that looks better and better the way she's going. And then he was, really flying again over in Queensland, and again that virus just came at the wrong time. So really achieved a lot. You look at his times and his sectionals and just the way visually he did things, like he's a really impressive horse. But I just do think he probably, different circumstances, he could have even achieved a bit more on the track.
And I sell him for 600,000. Races in the Tangerine.
And you can't go past the horses David Ellis buys, can you really? I mean, the proven record of what he does with these horses, and this horse was bought by one of the absolute best.
Every year they have so much success, and they go to the sales and pick out these nice horses and give them the absolute utmost opportunities and training, and invariably, some just year after year have stars, and he's very much typical of that model. And, I think it was Peter O'Brien recently I was reading, talking about stallions and how important it is to take into account what they were like themselves as young horses. And that's where, a big tick in the box for Sword of State, being a $600,000 Magic Millions yearling bought by David Ellis. And, I've also heard on multiple accounts he was a real standout foal when he was at Newgate. So that gives you that confidence that he's going to throw the kind of foal that the commercial market is looking for. And that's certainly what we're really starting to see with his foals now that they're on the ground.
Speaking of those foals, let's have a look at some of these babies by Sword of State. We'll start with the I'm an Anna colt, of course, from I'm an Anabar, who was a wonderful Group 1 winning mare herself. So tell us the sorts of, the mares and the crosses people were trying to have, as you said, obviously, trying to get some Danehill free sort of mares there in particular.
Yeah, this mare was a bit of a no-brainer for Sword of State, I think. She's by more than ready. Danehill free, she's out of a Group 1 winning sprinting mare, so by going to Sword of State you're really playing to your strengths with the speed there. And physically she's a mare that puts a lot into her foals. She's a touch on the plain side, so we're just delighted with the outcome with this mating. He's a really nice leggy colt, but more importantly you can just see the power. Like, he's only 3 weeks old, but he's got that power in his shoulder, lovely, big, strong hindquarter, and it was exactly the kind of physical type we had in our minds when we did that mating.
Another lovely mare here, Botanic by Stravinsky, who we know, of course, has been a wonderful broodmare sire.
We're not probably as saturated with Danehill in New Zealand as Australia, and when you look at some of those traditional lines like your Zabeels and your O'Reillys, Centains, obviously in this case you've got Stravinsky, who is a good speed influence that was Danehill free. Those are the type of bloodlines I think are really going to cross back in well with Sword of State, and certainly in this case we're really happy with this filly, a real compact, punchy type of horse. Got that real strong hindquarter, be kind of an early maturing type like you would expect from the stallion. Very typical in that she's like lovely rich bay colour with some quite nice white markings. That's what we're seeing with a lot of his foals, and I suppose in this case this mare hasn't always been the most reliable in her limb conformation for some of her foals, and this is certainly one of the better foals she's had in that regard.
And then there's a colt from Empress Sissy, her sire line Shamadal, of course. We know what a wonderful sprint influence he's been through Lope de Vega. We now see Blue Point as well. So again, an outcross, but again, a fabulous speed pedigree to match with Sword of State.
Yeah, this mare again was a natural fit for Sword of State. She's already produced a stakes performer in Manchu by Redute's Choice, so kind of know the cross works. She's been a great mare for us, this mare. She's left a couple of really nice Al Mansours, a horse called Karazana, who broke his maiden really impressively for Chris Waller earlier in the spring, and has had a bit of a freshen. I think it's coming up for hopefully some later spring targets. He looks like a really nice horse, and yeah, this mare's done it again in terms of the type she's thrown. He's just still only a couple of weeks old, but you can see he's got that lovely athletic build. He's developing that strength in the hindquarter like we're seeing in a lot of the foals, and he looks like he's got a lovely amount of quality and scope to go forward and grow into a really nice foal. He bred some really nice mares last year. You start hearing the good word from breeders, but more importantly the phone starts ringing and the mares start getting booked in again, and I think that's a really positive sign for where things are headed with him.
Well, your other really exciting young stallion is Hello Yoom Zane, of course, winning the Royal Ascot Diamond Jubilee Stakes in the Cambridge stud colours, the Haydock Sprint Cup, a Group 2 winner in France as well. But really interesting having a look at this little fellow from Anchovy. How's the sort of follow-up been now for Hello Yoom Zane?
Yeah, we've got a bit of a soft spot for this colt. He's a really good representative of the sire. You know, lovely scope. He's got that lovely hindquarter, very easy way of going, which is something we see with Hello Yoom Zane himself, but particularly with his young stock. I think heading towards his first yearlings next year, buyers are really going to like what they see and what he's throwing in his stock. Lovely moving horses with that strength and exposure you get winning on the world stage at Royal Ascot. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's a really significant stage, and particularly with Australians, as there's that focus on those sprint races every year. So he has the right profile, he's got that Danehill influence in his bloodlines, you know, out of a Charmadale mare who we spoke about earlier, with these nice foals coming through second crop, but more importantly looking forward to the yearling sales with his first horses next year.
And then, of course, Almanzor. It's been such a pleasure watching Athabascan over here in Australia, in Sydney, winning the Tattersalls Club Cup and the Colin Stephen Quality. And there are so many more Almanzors to come through, and really exciting looking at the mares that he's had, in particular your own sort of gorgeous girl, Probabile, with a divine Almanzor filly.
She's always the star for us, and she was sitting there on the list of foaling mares with all that anticipation about when she'd foal, and hadn't really thought too much about whether it was going to be a filly or a colt. We just hoped she'd have a healthy foal, and thankfully she's delivered this lovely quality filly, which is just so much, I suppose, enjoyment for everyone, particularly Brendan and Joe. They get such a thrill out of Probabile and everything she's done. So now to have that next phase of her career underway is fantastic, and yeah, she's got a bit of star quality about this filly, really. You know, you've got to have your wits about you when you're out in the paddock. She's really active and she's certainly not shy. So I think she kind of knows she's good, and you shouldn't say they're different, but there's no doubt that whenever someone goes past the paddock where her and Probabile are, you know, they might stop for a photo or have a look, because she is a bit special. You
also have a colt from another Group 1 winning mare, 1,000 guineas winning mare in Karma Lass by Morris. I mean, this is a paddock, you know, where dreams are made, really.
Yeah, and they're best mates, the two of them. They were both, you know, went through the Te Akau system, campaigned over in Australia together, so they were, you know, buddied up in training, and then through the winter here they've shared a paddock and thankfully done the right thing and both foaled around the same time. So Karma Lass has got a nice Morris colt, which you know, is a pretty exciting horse to think about, obviously, and Morris is doing a great job, so it's a really good proven stallion to kick her off. And yeah, the two of them are in the paddock there, which is yeah, definitely the kind of a VIP paddock on the farm, that's for sure. He actually covered more mares by Zavabeel than any other last year, so Amarelina and Probabile were the top ones, but he's already had two of his Group 1 performers were out of Zavabeel mares, so it seems to be a cross that's really showing potential. And you know, in the case of Amarelina, she's left just a fantastic first foal. One of the things that Almanzor does very well is those maiden mares. He reliably produces a really nice maiden foal to kick the mare off, and so both her and Probabile, we feel like that's a really good first mating for them, and now the two of them are actually both going to go and be covered by Snitzel this year. So that gives them a fantastic opportunity to go to, you know, one of the best sires in the world, and then they'll come back to Cambridge and be bred here again next year. So yeah, we're trying to do everything we can to set them up as broodmares, and I think it's, you know, a fantastic way to kick them off. Now, you know, those 3-year-olds, the likes of Mary Shan over here in New Zealand, who's a really good Guineas prospect, Karazana, who we mentioned earlier, you know, he had 6 Group 1 performers, but you looked at the Oaks and Derbies and he often had multiple runners in a lot of those stakes races, and already now, as we get out towards those Oaks and Derby type races, you're seeing more and more of them pop up, and I think that's just going to be a continuing trend. And in terms of, you know, young staying stallions, I think he's really making his mark, and he's got a huge future in that space as we go forward. Like a lot of places, numbers have been going down and it's not easy, but we continue to produce the results on the track, probably more than we should. And I think with some of the positive things happening around racing here in New Zealand, it's really encouraging, and I've got no doubt that the more we breed, the more successful we are. It's something we're very good at in this country, and with the young stallions too we've got coming through, particularly here at Cambridge Stud, we hope we're going to play a big part in that future success as an industry.
In our G1 Goldmine analysis this week, we recap on Sword of State and his sire Snitzel from a previous look at the influence of the 4-time champion Australian sire and his best nicks. We see the speed influence elusive quality as a successful stakes-winning cross at nearly 14% success rate. Colonial speed sire General Nadim also matches up well, featuring a number of Group 1 winners on the cross, with Street Cry, Last Tycoon and Red Ransom mares also worth considering for a match-up with Sword of State in this season and beyond. It'll be great seeing the evolution of top speed sires such as Sword of State in the New Zealand breeding industry and beyond. Coming up after the break, Arrowfield Studs, horse who made you love racing.
It's not one in particular. I think it's that era of Octagonal, then on to Lonhro and Sunline. I love watching their successes.
Yeah, it really captures you when they are the good horses, doesn't it? And you come from an equestrian background, and so I guess you now know much more about the whole stud side, being married to Sean, but those memories of those horses, that's what you're out to achieve, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. That's exactly right. We love to see those successes and then hopefully bring them home and hopefully have some of our own, that's for sure.
And you're very hands-on here. Tell us about the work you do with Blue Gum.
I love to work with the horses. That's my passion. Sean has expertise in pedigrees and I love to learn about that, but most of the time it's me being outside. I don't like to get stuck in the office at all and we'll find every opportunity to actually get out. So that's the love of the horse for me.
And I think a lot of people in the industry don't come from a racing background, or they don't necessarily know all the pedigrees or all the background, but it still really works. There are plenty of things you can do and really love being involved.
Absolutely, yes. There's so many aspects of the industry that we don't think about, from rearing the foals all the way up, handling them, the yearlings. The yearlings are a love for me as well. Their personalities when they start the preparation to when you take them to the sales. I'm always at awe of how they behave themselves. They're awesome.
And it is about, as you said, breeding that next champion.
Yes, it is. Hopefully we can do that.
That is Bred to Win for this week. Don't miss next week's show as we meet Suzanne Philcox, the genius behind some of the most recognisable names in the stud book at Woodlands and now Darley Godolphin. And a full wrap of a huge weekend of Everest racing. I'm Caroline Searcy. I look forward to seeing you then.
Bred to Win, brought to you by Arrowfield, the home of 4-time champion sire Snitzel.